Wrestling with Wrestling's past and present.
How old were you?
I was -3.
JR is trying to contain Jim Ross.
McFlurry,
It's Mick Foley. Do you see any of the aggro crag? Was any of that left over?
No, unfortunately not.
No?
I'm taking some of that home.
Definitely not is the barn burner that Leaf Cassidy and Tiger Racing was, but we'll leave that there.
We digress.
God, I hope that storyline ends soon.
And 6 to 8 weeks later, they mail you a freaking magnet.
Yep. You may know him as the Red Rooster.
Is it still real to me? Damn it!
He kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then, I'm waiting for them to put the Selena Vega on a pole match.
And I mean, Big E's got Whale performing in his entrance, so I feel like
Wale.
they would.
Wale.
I don't listen to. Okay, well, I don't listen to him, so I apologize to Wale.
This is in the mail, my good sir. No, it wasn't.
I feel like Vince is just gonna have them team together and be like, have them called Woo Bro. Like they're just gonna be the Woo Bros. Like, anyway.
Giving us a reason to come here and listen to ourselves talk.
Absolutely, and
then you can listen to us too.
Strap on and balls only on Wrestling Past and Present.
This is Gangrel, the Vampire Ward, and you're listening to Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.
This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And today we're going to recap SummerSlam from last week. But before we get into that, a little housekeeping issue that we have to take care of. If you listened to our show last week, you remember that we said we were going to do SummerSlam 88 as well. Well, we realized that we already covered that show.
We fucked up.
Yes, we did.
I was just going to say, we done fucked up. But and ironically enough, Tim was telling us the story about how he found out. He started watching it and he was like, this looks really familiar.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm on the Finn Balor match.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I remember we talked about superstar Billy Graham being on commentary and how every word was Gorilla Monsoon out of his mouth.
Yep.
And we already covered that. It was episode 39. So if you want to check it out in the archives, as our friend Conrad would say, go do that. It's episode 39. So we're sorry, but we did screw up. And but you know what? We're going to still have a good show for you guys today, recapping SummerSlam.
Well, I mean,
unlike WD.
Geez, Mongo.
I said we're going to have a a good show, guys. Come on.
I tried. I was going to say, because unlike WB, we're actually going to listen to you guys and make sure we talk about you on. But that was all I was going to say.
Cut. We're live, pal. No. But yeah, it's one of those things where there was so much that happened at SummerSlam 2 this past weekend that we should still have a decent episode for you because there was a lot of stuff to talk about.
No, there was definitely a lot, whether it was the build up to it. Obviously, we covered last week CM Punk arriving in AEW, which I see people comparing, returns that have happened over the past few years and people are trying to downplay CM Punk's return or play it up. Can we just be happy as wrestling fans that in 2021, we have CM Punk in a wrestling ring, we have Edge in a wrestling ring, we have Christian in a wrestling ring, we have all this talent in wrestling rings. It doesn't matter whose return did what, because it all means something different to all of us. So, even what we're going to talk about tonight, some of the returns, it's still, you got popped as wrestling fans. This is what we want. We want to see surprises and entertainment. Some of it didn't go so well, but at least they're trying, I guess, like that cake from Bart Simpson, like at least you tried.
Well, and the I think the Punk return, the most comparable return is the Edge return. I think
exactly
because they were both out for so long. Edge was thought to never be able to wrestle again. So I think those two were, in my mind, are the most recent, biggest pop return. And to be honest, everybody, like, that's the thing too. Like somebody pointed out, I saw on one of the comments of, I can't remember what page it was on, but somebody was like, oh, well, Becky and Brock got bigger pops than Punk did. And it's like, there was 30,000 more people in that building. Like, so here's the thing. Even if the pop was bigger, it was with double the people. So let's look at it from let's paint a broad stroke, shall we? Because the Punk reaction was honest per person. The way it was a bigger reaction, a longer reaction than any of the other ones. And there was less people. So like, let's call it what it is. Like, let's not, no, like, if you took 30,000 people away from SummerSlam, the pop would not have been as big for those guys as it was for Punk. So let's put that to rest. And anybody that thinks that is just a delusional WWE mark that doesn't understand what Punk coming back to wrestling meant to the fans, especially the fans in Chicago. And that's the other thing. They're like, oh, it was in Chicago. It wouldn't happen anywhere else. Well, how come this past Wednesday when they were doing Dynamite not in Chicago, the place went nuts for Punk too?
Right. They're in Milwaukee, which they're not really a big fan of Chicago because they have a little sports rivalry with, the Bucks and the Bulls, even though the Bulls aren't really as good as they used to be. But still, I mean, you had last night, not to deviate too far from what we're doing later, you had Giannis, in the crowd marking out. So wrestling's fun. And that's what, I will say, without giving away my rating, I will say at least SummerSlam felt fun. I mean, the build-up sucked. I'm not going to lie. Like, I wasn't really excited to watch it, but at least the matches from what we saw somewhat kind of exceeded my expectations, which is rare for WWE to do because, I mean, we know how they are, but I'm going to try to get through without shitting on them too much. I'll try to be as objective as I can, but there's still things that piss me off.
Dude, I'll shit on them just enough. Don't you? I'll be the guy that shits on them just fine because, to be honest with you, the very first, at least half of SummerSlam was as predictable as you could have written that in permanent marker and not had to worry about, well, maybe I need to erase this. Like it was, and I texted you guys during SummerSlam, like, oh, that was predictable. Like, oh, wow, I'm shocked. Like, and that's the unfortunate thing is that a lot of the stuff at the beginning of the show, all three of us collectively had the same picks, and that's the way it went because it was so damn predictable. Like that's we want surprise, we want shock and awe. And I know it's not possible to do that all the time, but literally the first like 4 matches were like, we picked them, we were all right, and it was as predictable as could have been as to who was going to win those matches. So call it what it is. That's the first half of SummerSlam. I'm not going to say it sucked. I'm just going to say it was very predictable.
I mean, I guess let's look at it this way. When we talked about our Mania episode, when we reviewed Mania, we're all in agreement that night 1 was the best Mania, night 2 is trash. And if you notice, night 2 is primarily Raw storylines. Well, a lot of the stuff that kind of let you down was Raw storylines. So, it kind of goes to, they've loaded up Smackdown. I mean, to the point that USA is pissed off. They're like, oh, cool, thanks for bringing back Becky. Thanks for bringing back Brock. Oh, you threw him on Smackdown? You're so generous. And, oh, you fired Bray Wyatt for us? Oh, that's nice. So, like, eventually USA is going to be like, you guys can't just rely on your name of Monday Night Raw alone because, there's restaurants you can go to that you used to go to as a kid that were amazing. You went to as a teenager that are amazing. You go by now and you're like, yeah, that's diarrhea waiting to happen if I walk in that door. And that's what Monday Night Raw is. It's the place you go that you shouldn't because you're going to get the shits.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's Monday Night Raw is just awful right now. And hopefully there's rumors that Edge is going to Monday Night Raw, but it doesn't. But I don't know how true that is. If you saw his promo on SmackDown last night, makes it seem like he's still going over the Universal title. So who knows? But yeah, Raw is not doing too good.
But Raw has Drew McIntyre
and Doudrop.
And I can't name anybody else off the top of my head. I just said that's how sad. Like it, honestly, the best thing they have going is RK Bro. Hands down is the best thing. No offense to Lashley. His title reign is impressive, and I'm glad they didn't, we'll get into that too, but I'm glad that they didn't screw that up. But it's just, there's a lot of like rerun matches, and just, they have Karrion Kross coming out looking like a Mortal Kombat character.
Toyetic pal.
Well, and then Jeff Hardy shows up one week, and then you don't see him again for a month, and like it just literally seems like they're like taking a bingo ball, like friggin' tumbler, and just grabbing a ball and saying, oh, Jeff Hardy today, and then like you wait 3 months and you see him again, and it just, it's almost like they have literally no direction on Raw. And then when they're like, what do we do to fill this time? They're like, oh, let's have a rematch. It's like,
and then you have Nick Khan, no relation to Tony Khan, at least we don't know.
Thank God. Because that guy's
unless he's on Bowl and he's sabotaging them, but let's not start that rumor because somebody believes it out there. Yeah. But you have him going on TV literally laughing about the budget cuts because he's like, I'm a finance guy, that's what I'm here for. Well, first of all, as a finance guy, fuck you, because we know labor is the most expensive cost in a company, but you don't have to be heartless, because if you run a company and you're just like releasing and firing people, you have all the trolls. Will they pay them for 90 days? No. They don't let them work for 90 days because most of these wrestlers say, because they're only getting paid their downside guarantee, which is essentially like a minimum amount. Like they're still not getting the merch sales because they're not on TV. So people aren't buying their shit. So they're actually making more going on the indies. So that's why WWE does the 90-day compete clause, is because they don't want them going and capitalizing on their heat and their popularity and getting any bookings. Because if you listen to the almost 200 people they've released, like Matt Cardona being one of the biggest ones right now with how like successful he's been since he's gotten fired. He's like, I make more money doing indies than I made in 10 years in WWE. And that's really sad because WWE is $1 billion company and the people are making diddly squat. And then you're going to fire them. And then you're going to laugh on HTV and then say, Raw should be 4 hours so we can get more ad revenue. Like, you're a piece of shit.
So let's jump right into it. SummerSlam 2021. One match on the pre-show is Big E and Baron Corbin. This match I don't think was announced, so we didn't get a chance to predict this last week. But if you remember, Baron Corbin just stole Big E's Money in the Bank briefcase. And so this was a good way for Big E to get the briefcase back. And actually, we'll get into the main event, but Roland had a thought that, Big E was going to cash in later on in the night. So we'll get into that, but this would have made sense. Big E beats Corbin in about 6.5 minutes, gets the briefcase back. So it would have been a nice setup to that. I thought the match was okay. Baron Corbin was doing kind of his down on his luck, broke gimmick. And miraculously, that's all changed now. Now he's happy Corbin. So that's all done. But yeah, I thought it was a solid match. I think Big E deserved to be on the main show, though, and not the pre-show. That was my only gripe about it. But I think it was a good match to get everything, the crowd going and at Allegiant Stadium.
Is it just me, or is Big E getting the Cesaro push? Start. It's like, come on, dude. Like, he had the push when he was the Intercontinental Champion, then he lost that to Apollo, the Nigerian Nightmare, and it's just, I don't know. It's weird that like they have these guys that Vince McMahon just has a raging boner for, and I know Big E has to be one of them, but like how do you push somebody like so inconsistently? They do that, that's their MO. Like I don't understand some of these guys that get pushed inconsistently, like where it's like the Cesaro, like, and I don't know how Vince doesn't like Cesaro more, because as a physical specimen and as a wrestler in the ring, it's not like he's one of the quote unquote vanilla midgets. He's not a small guy. He's not huge either, but like pound for pound, he's probably the strongest guy they've got based on what he is for a build. But it, like Tim said, names like Big E not being on the main show is almost like exactly an example as to why the WWE like is bad right now. Because why do you have, and he's one of your and you have live crowd there, so he's one of your more popular superstars, and you have him on the pre-show.
Vince has got this weird mentality in his mind, like he makes those monster movies, and certain people aren't marketable. And I don't get it, because Big E is marketable as fuck, because the New Day was one of the hottest selling tag teams merch wise. I mean, you go to FYE and there was a box of Bootios on the shelf. Like that is what WWE wants. They got the market penetration. I don't understand how, like, I agree with you, how they do this start and stop push, because one, he's talented as hell on the mic. So that's what you want. He's funny as hell. He knows how to sell. He could be a good heel. We've seen him as a heel character before with CM Punk and AJ. We've seen him go through the New Day. We've seen him now have this run, but you have him have a chance to capitalize on a world title. That would shock the world more, because Big E did it and he had his WrestleMania moment, something that he deserves. And instead, you're just going to let him flounder in a comedy storyline with Baron Corbin, who just, he takes wherever he rolls with it, man. That dude's got, just whatever. Like, I just feel like he's that dude from Full House. It's like, whatever. He took every shitty, thank you. He took every shitty gimmick and just he ran with it. And now he's doing the, soft Corbin, happy Corbin, little ball of fur, until Vince whistles him out on his future endeavors.
That's what's on his head, little ball of fur.
Like, I don't know if people remember, but I literally made a joke a few months ago because they trademarked Happy Corbin. I was like, oh my God, they're going to do the Soft Kitty song. Instead of Purr, 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 it's going to be, we wish you future luck in your future endeavors.
Well, and like, that's another storyline they probably ended too soon. Like, he should have been poor for a long time. Like, it shouldn't have been like 8 weeks.
You notice they're promoting this gambling thing like crazy too. They had the whole DraftKings, which first of all, you're stupid as hell if you bet on, I mean, it's predictable. You're stupid as hell if you bet on wrestling. Like, it's clearly rigged. And then they did the whole he won money in Vegas. So it's like they're trying to like say betting's cool. Like, no, it won't cause you to ruin your life at all.
I guess it does kind of make sense, though. They were in Vegas. If they were going to put an end to it, I guess it does sort of make sense that, oh, yeah, let's have them win money in Vegas while we're there. But you're right. I think it could have gone on a little bit longer, but I think just the timing of it probably made sense to them to end that storyline while they were in Vegas.
It's funny, pal.
Well, and then you have this guy has probably wrestled more than anybody in the past 8 weeks. He's been on Raw. He doesn't make any money from that.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just saying, the story, he should have been, to do something like that properly, you have to have shows not booking him. For him to be poor. He should have been blackballed from wrestling. Nope, we don't want, he should have been every week. He should have showed up and asked Adam Pearce or Sonya Deville if they had a match for him. I'll do anything. And then they'll be like, no, you can take the ring down when we leave if you want, but we don't, and they could have gone that way with it. Instead, he's wrestling every week, and it's doesn't he make money when he wrestles? Wait,
yeah,
isn't that how it goes?
They could have almost done the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair when that bankruptcy angle happened too, or JBL, excuse me.
Yep.
They could have done that whole, or they did one WCW with Diamond Page and stuff. There's ways you can do it, like you said, where. Because I remember in one of those, I think it was the JBL one, they were like, you clean the toilet. And he's like, all right. He did what he had to do. Yeah. And then it led up to the match. And you could have done that. And he could have had a bully, because let's face it, they say they're anti-bullying, save your time, but there's still bullying storylines. You could have had someone like Big E, punishing him for taking his briefcase and be like, fine, you know what? You can drive me around because I'm sick of paying for Uber. And make him be his bitch, basically. They just should have Butler Store NXT. They could have done it.
Yeah. So we start off the actual pay-per-view with the Raw Tag Team Championship match. You have RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Riddle. They're going to become your new champions after defeating AJ Styles and Omos in just over 7 minutes. We all predicted this one. I think it was pretty predictable because they're teasing the dissension between Riddle and Orton. And usually when they do that, they put the belts on them. It's kind of predictable repeat booking that they've always done for a long time. So I think this was kind of easy for us to pick. Match itself was all right. I don't think I would have started the show off with this one. I think there's much better options to start off the show with. But, it was a decent match, but, very predictable, nothing too exciting and nothing, too noteworthy here.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it was so predictable that we just knew it was going to happen. And I will say that it, like I said earlier, that happens to be, in my opinion, the best thing they have going on Raw right now. In my opinion, I don't think there's much better than that. So just for that sake, I'm going to.
Bro.
I just wanted to throw that in there. I actually dig Riddle. I think Riddle is I don't like his overly stupid thing, but I think that his gimmick is so him that it's almost too much him at times. He's trying too hard to be him, and it's dude, you can just be you and be hey bro, you can be that guy without having to be the over the top dumb. You don't have to make him stupid. He's not dumb. He's just a laid back kind of stoner type guy. That's just what he is. In real life, I'm not going to say that he's a crazy stoner, but that's the vibe you get from him. You're that guy has to smoke a ton of pot. When you talk to it, if you see him, that's the vibe you get from him, and that's who he is. You don't
bring in RVD to manage him.
Yeah, it's just that's the vibe you get from him. I don't know if he does or if he. Well, what I'm not saying he does. I'm just saying that's the vibe you get is the wicked cool stoner friend you have that you like hanging out with. You may not want to do pot or whatever or smoke pot, but you're he's pretty cool. I like hanging out with him. That's the vibe you get from Riddle. So, and he's talented as hell. So I like I said, anybody that listens to this, tell me something that's more entertaining than that storyline and that group right now, that team of RK Bro on Raw, because I don't think there is. Reggie jumping around off of stuff, I guess, is your next best entertaining thing every week. Reggie jumping around off ice cream trucks and stuff, I guess.
They're trying to have him and Morrison have a parkour battle. I don't really care.
Yeah, I guess in theory, your next best thing right now is that's going to continue would be the Morrison Miz thing, but that just happened. So you don't know where they're going exactly with that. But honestly, I think that RK Bro, if they do this right, could end up being the best thing they have for a while too, because you could run this out for a while and then you could have one of them turn on the other. And I'm not saying it has to be Orton. Like at what point does Riddle snap and get tired of Orton treating him like shit? Like that could happen too. Like you have so many, like you have to do this right. You can't rush it. You have to like, please WWE. Like again, I look dead in the camera. I know you guys can see. I look dead in the camera. Please don't screw this up because this is really good stuff. Good shit. Legitimately good shit.
And that's where I think as fans, we tend to voice more of our concerns, and that's what we get shit for. It's when we tell you we like something by buying your merch, because that's what Vince used to always say is, well, whoever moves the needle, whoever moves the merch is who they're going to push. I have seen more RK Bro shirts in the crowd than I've seen like Cena and Roman Reigns, because like Roland said, they're very over. And I just think that Vince thinks Riddle is Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Like, you remember when he's hitting himself in the head with a shoe? Like, that's why I think he thinks who he is. So I agree with Roland. It's like he's turned up to like 22 instead of turned up to like 10. Because he is a badass. If you ever watch The Ultimate Fighter, he destroyed some dude's face. Like, they were just like in a regular match, and he knocked him out so bad he broke like his face, like his whole face. And the guy was like literally crying on the mat. It was like the most disturbing thing I've seen. And Riddle's just like, oh shit, like, whoops. So like he's just like, he is brutal. Like he was a good fighter before he came to NXT and WWE. So he could still be the, like Roland said, laid back, chill, surfer kind of dude that can kick your ass. Like, I mean, the whole butterfly thing, not butterfly, excuse me, birds, when he does his flip-flop thing, it's like, it's too over the top. It's just not him. And it makes sense that he's going to do the heel turn, like Roland said, because he's probably going to be sick of getting picked on, because it's, Randy keeps teasing the breakup, and then broke him up and got him back together, makes fun of him, makes fun of his scooter. But it will say that him getting a scooter on Raw was kind of funny.
Well, and then like you said with the birds, like, are these birds supposed to be coming out of his pants? Like, I don't know. Like, I just, like, he's not a magician. It's like, I don't get the whole, like, I get what they're trying, like, it's a visual thing. I get it. But like, let's be realistic here. Where are the birds coming from? Is he shitting the birds? Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't, it's like the dumbest effect that you can do. Like, oh, it's okay. It's cool to do pyro then, but like he flicks his flip-flops and like birds come out. It's like, fuck did these birds come from? It wouldn't be something if they had like doves in the stadium, they just like set them free. There's a guy behind him with like just a cage of birds waiting for him to jump. He jumps and they just throw all the birds in the air, and everybody's like, what the fuck was that about?
I swear, if they can do that next week on Raw, someone listens to this show.
Hey, you know what? Don't say it too loud, because Pritchard will hear it somehow and be like, hey, that's a good idea. He'll get it back to Vince, and Vince will be like, God damn, pal, why didn't we do that sooner?
I'm hoping that happens with my Jinder Mahal gimmick idea, which we'll get to in a little bit. But
yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed the video clip that Mongo had, the audio clip that Mongo had this week of the I don't want to spoil it because I'll let Tim have the glory, but it was a good remembrance of what Tim's idea was for this pay-per-view, for the one random idea, the prediction that he had.
That's right. Speaking
of predictions, I have an idea for Tim. What he should do. I think that you opened yourself a can of worms with that one. I think we need to have like something on Thursdays, like Tim's prediction Thursday or Tim's terrible prediction Thursday or something phonetically with the. Not saying they have to be terrible,
this
but
could
like
still come
out
true.
There. But I'm saying I think we should do something on Thursdays. Like have Tim do a prediction, like Tim's prediction thread or something fun, because I feel like you think like Vince, so some of these ideas are gonna come true, and we're like, you heard it here first. We've willed a lot of things into existence. I'm afraid that it's going to come into existence.
All right, maybe there's a new segment coming from wrestling. I don't even know the name of our show anymore.
I flustered him.
We can do it on Fridays, and it can be Tim's Fantasy Prediction Friday.
That's right. We'll work on that, folks. We're just doing our show planning as we're recording.
Hey, and to be fair, right now we can't even get our audio clips straight because we've all been so busy. We have like just with everything. That's the thing too. Like we have lives too. Like this isn't just like Conrad. I get that he has like a mortgage business and whatever, but like he has people working for him that do some of this stuff, like research, whatever. Tim's one guy, so he's the one that does all the audio stuff for us, the clip editing. Mongo does some of the stuff like you see on the like Facebook and stuff, like putting stuff together like that. But when it comes, like usually we'll have our predictions play. I just want to say that we just didn't have time. Like we just didn't have time this week to get it we wanted to. So if you don't believe those were our predictions,
Yeah,
go back
can
to
listen.
last
you
week's
can listen to the show.
Right, exactly. But and this isn't a ploy to get you to listen to last week's episode, but last week's episode was pretty good. So, anyways, but
Right.
it's just sometimes we just don't have the time. But yeah, like I think that would be a cool segment if we got like every Friday or even if it was like the Friday leading up to a pay-per-view, like we had Tim make a prediction that he thinks going to happen and like something that it's out of this world in like but could actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. So we'll iron out the details and maybe we'll have something in the works for you guys down the road. Next up, though, on SummerSlam, with the match I think everybody was looking forward to, you have Alexa Bliss getting a win over Eva Marie with Dewdrop. Thankfully, it was kind of short. It was 3 minutes and 50 seconds, which is about 3 minutes and 49 seconds longer than it should have been. Again, I think it was really predictable that Eva was going to get squashed. I mean, they used this as the breakup between Dewdrop and Eva Marie at the end, where Dewdrop steals her robe and everything like that. But the match itself was just I don't know. I don't think I was really paying attention while watching this, to be perfectly honest with everybody, because I didn't care.
That was the bathroom break portion.
Yeah.
And we've been outspoken from the get-go that you have certain wrestlers or women superstars that you've let go that are head and shoulders above Eva Marie. Now, here's the caveat. Do they all look like Eva Marie? No. And that's the thing. Vince right now is going for people that are stunning, bombshell, supermodel looking people to bring people in to watch, which I mean isn't a terrible idea. However, when you have capable wrestlers that you're letting go, just because they don't have the look of an Eva Marie, it's unfortunate because that then takes away from the product in the ring. So it's a good thing they didn't let this match go any longer than 3 minutes and 50 some odd seconds, because if they had, it would have been even worse, because Eva Marie, so for someone that's been away from the ring for so long, that's been dabbling in different things, she's still a horrible actor. She is so bad. Like, no, I'm not trying to crap on her.
Go give her a fan. She's awful.
Yeah, she is really like that when she fell off the swing or like whatever at the Playhouse there, a couple weeks ago, she looked like somebody that I don't even know how to describe it. Like it was so awful.
Like community theater.
Yeah, it's bad. And I don't, she's not the most athletic person when it comes to in-ring stuff. Like I said, granted, she's a good physical specimen. She's got some muscles. It's not like she's, out of shape or whatever, but like she's not a wrestler. And, Alexa Bliss, to her credit, carried that match as best she could. And it was what we thought it was going to be. It was like a train wreck. It wasn't worth the 3 minutes and 50 some odd seconds they gave. You could have had Big E come out and squash Corbin to get his briefcase back in that spot, and no one would have cared. People probably would have cared more.
What pissed me off, Cesaro wasn't on this card, but Eva Marie was. That's what I think bothered me the most. Was you could have had a Cesaro match, any type of match. You could have put him against the Nigerian, what did you call him earlier?
Nigerian Nightmare.
Nigerian Nightmare. You could have had him. You could have literally had him fighting like a nobody, or have him do an open challenge. Like, you couldn't give me a match. Give me a match. You could have had him, because they would have at least had a better match. And Alexa could have been on the pre-show, and sucks for Alexa, but the storyline she's in is terrible. And then, like you said, Eva Marie can't wrestle. She can't sell or act. She is just there because Vince wanted a pretty face. There's a funny line in the movie Fighting With My Family. If no one's seen it, you guys have to watch it. It's about Paige. It's on Hulu right now. It's got The Rock in it, where she's on the bus riding to NXT, and she's just like, oh, great, a bunch of blonde airhead supermodels. And they all pretty much live up to the hype until one of them was like, not all of us are. It's someone who's actually trying to be a serious wrestler, but all the other girls don't care about wrestling. That's Eva Marie. She's that girl who is like, oh, I like wrestling, so I'm on national TV, but she doesn't take it seriously. So that's scary, because she could hurt people. So she shouldn't be in the ring. She shouldn't even be a valet, because she can't act. Honestly, she took a job from someone who deserved it, and this match was just an insult to whoever's been fired over the past 2 years for budget cuts, when I guarantee she ain't making, pittance.
You mentioned, that Cesaro was off the card and everything. That was a point I wanted to make, too. There was a lot of people that were off this card that didn't wrestle. I mean, you have Kevin Owens, you have Finn Balor wasn't on the card. Nakamura made an appearance but didn't wrestle. I mean, I don't know what the point of his
He came out with Rick Boom.
Rick Boogs. He didn't wrestle. So you have those. I mean, 3 guys, and I'm sure there's others that I'm not thinking about right now. But yeah, you give a spot to Eva Marie. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
And that's where the Raw booking came in. Like, that's what killed the momentum. I think I texted you guys in the chat. It was like riding a roller coaster again of like, this is okay. It's just, the momentum here is terrible. We joke about it. We watch TNA that it's like they don't know how to like do their cards. This card was a cluster because the Raw forced storylines. It's just like you said earlier, RK Bro opened the show. Big E was on the pre-show. But then, like, the match that's usually a halfway decent match is Alexa Bliss, Eva Marie. Like, I was just like, okay, this is terrible booking. Like, wise, I would have hated to be in that crowd just because you'd have been so bored.
And you could have put the Eva Marie Alexa match on the pre-show, and no one again. You could have flip-flopped them, and it would have been a better card, I think.
Yeah.
Match placement is key.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is the United States Championship match. You have Damian Priest going to become the new one-time national champion by defeating Sheamus. If you don't get that reference, he was interviewed by Tiffany Haddish?
Yeah,
Tiffany Haddish. Okay.
I texted you guys that after she said it too. I was like, the one-time national champion Damian Priest.
That's apparently we're in college wrestling now or something. But that's what she called Damian Priest. I thought this was predictable because I thought they were going to give Priest his moment by himself. He had this WrestleMania moment with Bad Bunny, and Bad Bunny really stole the show in that match. So I thought they were going to give him his moment here. So I thought this was kind of predictable. I think we all picked Damian Priest to win. Mm-hmm. A solid match. I mean, Sheamus can really go with anybody. His character might not be, that great, but his in-ring performance is pretty good. And Damian Priest can go as well. So I thought this was a solid match, probably a match that could have started the show. And I think it would have got the crowd going a little bit better. Again, that goes back to the whole match placement thing. But
hashtag bring back the bar.
Yes. But other than that, I thought it was a solid match, and happy that Priest went over here.
I not to cut you off, Tim, but like just bring the bar. Sheamus and Cesaro as a tag team was probably the best thing the WWE had let them do in years. Sheamus as a single right now just doesn't know. He doesn't have the momentum he used to have when he first came up. He's a crowd favorite in a way, but it's just not, like we said, it just gets stale with him. It's the same old thing. He's like, I'm an Irish brawler, blah, blah. Like it's stale. And Cesaro ends up getting these stupid start stops like Big E's been getting lately. So why wouldn't you just put those two back together and let them go after, say, the SmackDown or the Raw titles? Like, let them reunite, and maybe that's something they can do down the road. Of maybe they'll both end up getting tired of, and they can use that to their advantage and say, hey, we're tired of we're back to take the tag titles and take them for a long time, and we're tired of being overlooked as singles guys, because the most relevant thing they've both done in the past 5 to 8 years is the bar, the run they had with the bar. Before they had banger matches before they got put together. Since then they've done a few things here or there, but it's been start stop, and I think you need to reunite the bar.
No, I 100% agree. Vince is trying to make them too much of a character. That's the problem right now. Is he's back in 1992 mentality. He's back in the I need characters. That everyone has to have a character, and everyone has to have an amazing backstory because it's a TV show. And I get having a gimmick, but you're forcing this weird weaselly Sheamus. Like, it doesn't fit his wrestling style. His nose keeps getting broken. Like, it's just get rid of it. You and Brandon Cutler need to drop these face masks. Like, it's ridiculous. And I don't understand how they can book Sheamus in such a way to make him weak. And I'm glad Damian Priest got his win, but they're trying to build him up. But he keeps getting hurt and disappearing. So it's like, how much faith they're going to have in him? Because I feel bad, because every time he gets a good run, like, he disappeared for how long after WrestleMania?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you got to put Cesaro back with them, and you don't have to break them up for them to still have meaningful singles run. Hell, you could have Sheamus get back, this title. You could have Cesaro get back the Intercontinental title, and then they could be the tag title. Like, see, we are the bar, and they could run, and then they could drop the singles titles again. They could still work together. I don't understand this fascination with tag teams have to be completely broken up for them to have singles runs. It doesn't make sense.
Well, and the way that team disbanded, they have unfinished business together.
Yes.
Well, the draft is coming up, so maybe they can get drafted to the same brand, and maybe they can reunite the bar.
Hopefully.
Speaking of tag teams, though, that is a nice segue into our next match. It's for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. You have the Usos retaining over the Mysterios, just under 11 minutes here. Again, I think we all predicted the Usos were going to win. They're teasing the dissension between Rey and Dominic, so it could potentially lead to a match between the two. So I don't think any of us thought that they were going to put the belts on them. It was a solid match, but again, I don't remember a whole lot from this one, to be honest with you, which is kind of a disservice to both teams. They can really shine if they're allowed to. But other than that, I thought it was another predictable match. That's 5 matches in, and they've all kind of been predictable so far.
And then that's, like I said, the beginning of this card was we all predicted the beginning of this card right. There was nobody that was like, how, like usually during the shows we'll text each other and be like, we got that, like I got that one, or like we all got them because they were so damn predictable. And it's, we already discussed last show that they're going to eventually, Rey Mysterio and Dominic are going to break up, and maybe that's the retirement match for Rey. It will be against his son, which would be pretty cool if that's the case. And maybe that's how they get Dominic in a mask. Maybe it ends up being, Dominic says he wants to be in a mask. So maybe the retirement match for Rey against Dominic is that if he ends up beating him, he then retires Rey and he continues the legacy of the Mysterio. Then he gets the mask and he can, like that. That's probably the best way to do it, in my opinion.
And I agree. I think that's what they're leading to, just based on SmackDown, what I heard, but because I didn't get a chance to see because I was out last night. But from what I've heard, kind of how they teased on them going on their own and how Dominic's been arrogant, using air quotes like Roland does, in the ring, and sloppy and showing his rookie. So I do kind of like this is one of the best storylines they have going. Like I do like how they're teasing this. They're going to have a fight because Rey's going to teach his son a lesson. So I know I said last week I didn't want it, but if it's done right, like Roland said, where he defeats his father retires, he wears the mask to honor the Mysterio name, then you could transition into having a decent run. But if they're just kind of wasting this for a nothing match, then it's pointless. And I think the Usos right now they don't seem like they care, and it's kind of sad. Like it just seemed like they were like in the match. So Tim, I think that's why you think it was not memorable, because it just seemed like they went through the motions in this match. So I don't know if it's just they know they're protected. Because clearly someone got a DWI and you fucking give him the title. Like, we don't want to promote drink and drive. This is your second time getting it. And it was all over the news again. And you're supposed to be a role model to kids. And we're going to give you the belt to show you that there's actually no consequences versus, if it was like a Jeff Hardy again, you'll make it a storyline to punish him. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
And they brought it up on TV subtly. When Jay said to Jimmy, keep your head up. Let's get like that was I don't know if that was scripted or not, but it's like they acknowledged it without acknowledging it. And you would think that, like you said, usually people that have that happen get punished. They go away for a while, or something happens. And the Mysterios, at least that way you can tease them not wanting to face each other, because Rey will be like, well, I don't want to face my son. But then Dominic will say, well, I'm better than you. Like, I don't need you to hold me back. Like, I'm not, I'm arrogant. Like, at least that way you have, okay, Rey can keep, like, I'm going to end your career and continue the legacy. And like, at least it's like Mongo said, if it's done right and you have something to invest your fans to get invested, to be, want to see the match happen, even if it is father-son. But it also is a good storyline, because why, like Mongo said, why would you want some match on SmackDown between the two with no build? Because logically your father's not going to fight you. So there needs to be stakes that make it worthwhile, because then you can say, well, Rey, like you said, Rey needs to teach his son a lesson and show him how it's done. But then Dominic can say, well, I don't need to face you. Why do I need to face you? You're my, they can say, well, if you end up beating me, then that, you can have the Mysterio name, carry the legacy out, and I'll ride off into the sunset.
Next up was the SmackDown Women's Championship match. It was supposed to be Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, and they actually played it up that this match was going to happen throughout the show. They did a video package and everything, and
they knew for 8 days.
Yeah,
well, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up, is that before to cut you off too, since you've been cut off, Tim. That's the thing that really pisses me off. This is fucking false advertisement at its goddamn finest. I do not care. The WWE needs to do better to their fans, because They advertised this to the live crowd. They advertised this to the people that would have been buying the show, and they knew for a friggin' week she wasn't going to be there. On SmackDown the week before, they should have said, listen, she's hurt, she's sick, whatever it is, she will not be there. This is her replacement. You cannot advertise a friggin' match that you knowingly know won't happen for up to 8 days in advance. That is a fucking joke. That is a disservice to everybody that buys a show or watches a show. You hear it all the time when fans go to live shows and people no show because they were advertised to be there and they don't show up. Like Kevin Owens just had it recently in the news where he was advertised to be there and he wasn't there. He actually put a video out to the girl that he saw that made the sign and stuff saying, hey, I apologize. I'm not going to be able to be there. You know, the sign's awesome. Thank you. This is bullshit at its finest from Vince treating his fans like they're fucking ignorant. And this is the problem with WWE is that they treat it. And I know I'm going on a tangent, but this is the problem. They knew for so long and they advertised this thing up until the minute before the damn match. There, go ahead, Tim. I just wanted to get that off me because that's the problem. That honest to God, that is the problem. You treat your fans like shit. You expect them to buy your stuff and you do stupid stuff like this to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody knew she wasn't showing up. I mean,
well, the smart fan did, but there was probably kids in that
that
had no idea, and then we're like, wait, what?
Yeah, absolutely. And they played it off to the point where they literally played a video package right before the match, and then all of a sudden they just said, Greg Hamilton comes on the mic and says, Sasha Banks can't compete. Here's her new opponent, and Carmella comes out, and then right before the match starts, the band's music hits. The man's music hits, which was, the worst kept secret because if you were keeping up, I guess, with the dirt sheets and the rumors of the internet, you knew she was coming back. So Becky Lynch comes back, cuts a promo, beats Carmella, takes Carmella out of the match. And then they have a match, or she has a match with Bianca, which lasted 26 seconds, which is a joke in itself. You're squashing your champion who's carried you the last couple months.
Months. That build came from the Royal Rumble. That thing was 8 months in the making, and again. So okay, all right. I'm gonna go fucking nuts here for a minute. Okay, so you have the person you build up from the Rumble to then become the person. You then squash that person. However, you also have the return of Becky Lynch to sweeten it, but then you also have the false advertising of Sasha being there. So this is a clusterfuck. Like this whole thing is a mess because if you have Sasha and Bianca have a match, okay, advertised, and then it doesn't happen. You then bring Carmella out to then swerve the fans that Becky's not coming. You then bring Becky out, and then she squashes your champion. What the ever-loving fuck are you doing? This is the dumbest thing. You just literally took, and you can say the element of surprise or whatever, but you legitimately just made Bianca Belair look like a useless, worthless competitor in one match to surprise the fans and have Becky come back. They should have had a 20-minute friggin' barn burner, a classic, and then had Becky win because you had someone that's been off for over a year, not wrestling for over a year, just beat your champion that nobody could beat.
And there's a couple points to that too. First of all, it reminds me of when Goldberg squashed The Fiend. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, you're taking this dominant character that's carries you and you just kill all momentum that he has. But the second thing too is like, yeah, I'm against the squash, but the way she won with a Uranagi. We see Uranagis in every single match and nobody loses to that move. So like that the way she was squashed too didn't make any sense whatsoever.
And that must be her new finisher that she has because they named it the Manplex or the Man
Slam or something.
Yeah, some weird stupid name. And how do you not at least have her tap her out there? Armor. How do you not have it? Like here's how you could have done it if you wanted to do it in 26 seconds. Have Bianca slip up, get caught in that, and have to tap. Okay, then I'm not as pissed because she wasn't prepared for the match and she got caught. Brock Lesnar got caught in a real fight with Frank Mir and got tapped out. So like that can really happen. But like to then, like you said, have her take an Uranagi, essentially a rock bottom, essentially, and get pinned in 26 seconds is literally an absolute joke. Like that should never happen, ever.
I'm pissed off too, and there's these Becky stands out there, and first of all, the fact that people can think, oh, I stand this person, I'm the hardcore fan, and you get so defensive that you're willing to warp your delusion and try to attack people who you don't agree with because I was talking to this ignorant ass friggin' Becky stan when I said the following: way to Kofi, your champion, way to Bob Backlund, your champion. Because if you go back, there's been some champions that we just thought it was funny to squash a champion, and look where the careers went. The last person to get a squash like anything like this was John Cena to Brock Lesnar a couple of years ago at SummerSlam, where Brock just dominated, but it made sense because it was Brock. But this didn't make sense. Like Roland said, you had someone who was dominant on NXT, came up, won the Royal Rumble from the starting position, so she's an amazing competitor, had a great build, dethroned Sasha Banks, who was your dominant heel champion, had her WrestleMania moment, had matches with Bayley, legitimized herself as a champion, that she wasn't a paper champion. She put butts in seats, she sold merch, she gave it her all. Then to get squashed right after Becky slaps her in the face with a promo, says, let's have a match of the night, basically saying, let's have a banger and let's tear the house down, girl. Like, to then do a stupid pump handle slam, essentially, and beat your champion to show that.
It's the manhandle slam. That's what it was. Sorry.
Yes.
Got it.
So it bothers me because it's like, and this friggin' Becky saying was like, yo, it's because Becky came back and she's dominant. I'm like, but that's not right. And she's like, well, she didn't lose her title. But guess what? Yeah, she forfeited her title. So she can come back. She can get a match. Fine. Like Roland said, have a 20-minute classic, have a 10-minute classic, have a match, win with the disarm her, because then it keeps Bianca looking relevant. But you just made Bianca look weak, and you basically stripped her of the title after lying about everything, like Roland said, because I'm the same way. If any other company in the world did that, they'd be sued for false advertising or bait and switch, because that was bait and switch. You knew for 8 fucking days that Sasha Banks couldn't compete. You pulled them off house shows together. Fans asked you and you ignored it. Like, no. She's going to be there. So it's not like you were like, oh, we avoided the question. You legitimately told news outlets she'll be there. There were people crying, like kids crying on social media, that from like news asking them because they were Sasha Banks fans and they basically went to Vegas and that's the match they wanted to see. And then you pull out Carmella and we're going to do a double swerve. So you make Carmella look more like shit after you've been trying to build her up. And then you squash your champion and make her look like shit. Like you did Brock Lesnar and Kofi after his Mania win. It devalues their title run. And it devalues the interest in the fan because you know what? People come up with, oh, Bianca will be fine. Bianca will be fine. She shouldn't have to be fine. She should have had a match and lost respectfully because then you know what? Even if Becky's a heel, which that boggles my mind too, that she's now this stupid ass like chicken shit heel. She's basically Seth Rollins as a female. So she just basically took her character and threw it out. So you're going to have the manhandle slam and you're going to be like a chicken shit. Like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Got a little fired up there today. Wrestling with Wrestling's past or present.
A little bit of red ass everybody on that.
Yeah.
We hate to see people done dirty. That's what it is.
And that's the thing. Like Tim brought up the point of the way the match finished. If you're going to squash somebody or beat somebody quick, they have to get caught in something. Like I said, if there was a part where like all of a sudden she rolled her over and got her in the middle of the ring in the disarmer and she tapped out, it would have been way more believable because you could have said, oh man, she was not prepared for this match and she got caught. Okay, I would at least let that slide. Like, okay, yeah. But to beat her with, like Tim said, a Uranagi, a pump handle, some manhandle slam, whatever the hell you want to call it, in 26 seconds after she was in the Rumble for over almost an hour. She then dethroned Sasha on night 1 of WrestleMania and has been untouched since. And not just untouched, but dominantly untouched. And now you just killed her from someone who hasn't wrestled the match in 16 months. By somebody that was also the Raw champion, not the SmackDown champion.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. She comes back for a title that isn't even hers anyways. Like the title she gave up was the Raw title, in case anybody at home is like, oh, she came back to get her title. No, that's not even her fucking title. The title she gave up was the Raw title. So no, she didn't come back for a title. She came back for a different one.
And that's why smart marks like AEW better, because at least they have a ranking system. So you can't just come off the street and go, that's my match now. Because storyline wise, Carmella was booked as the replacement, but Becky Lynch can just get it.
You can't pull a John Cena and just sign a contract and it's yours now. All right. Yeah.
Like, stop insulting the fans. And you know what? I know people say you can defend WWE. I just don't get the people who will die on the hill for them. I don't understand that. You know, I enjoy all wrestling, so that's why we're all passionate about this, because we're seeing a wrestling company we want to succeed because they have wrestlers. You know, they hoard them, FYI. they have wrestlers we like to see, and you either don't use them or you don't use them correctly, and then you wonder why we get pissed off. They go out there and they wrestle. These workers go out there and wrestle your shitty storyline and your shitty, like, oh, you get 26 seconds to squash our champion. You do this kind of shit, and then wonder why half the country watched friggin' CM Punk return, because we're sick of seeing this same shit. You know, we're sick of seeing this stuff, and then you're like, well, we're the biggest name in town, pal, so you're gonna watch. It's like, the problem is the people who watch want to enjoy it, but you're not giving us something to enjoy. I just don't understand how they can think this is good shit. I just don't understand how anyone can die on the hill and be like, this is the most amazing thing ever. I don't get it. I don't.
So here's the next bigger question. How come the next pay-per-view is Extreme Rules and it's not SummerSlam Backlash?
Yeah, WWE's Extreme is like when you were a kid, you went to that weird kid's house and the parents were like, you boys can have soda after 8 o'clock tonight. Hoo, naughty. Like, that's their version of Extreme.
Yeah, you're not going to see a pizza cutter on Monday Night Raw.
No.
Sorry.
I mean, I'll give them credit. The last year you had the whole thing where they had to lose an idol in a match. I mean,
oh, the horror show. Ooh,
yeah,
I just got chills.
Yeah,
not good.
Next up is a singles match. You have Drew McIntyre getting a win over Jinder Mahal in about 4 minutes and 40 seconds here. I was the only one that got that right, so I'm going to toot my own horn there. I thought this was kind of predictable. I didn't think they were going to put Jinder over. I know you guys did, because he was going to be part of a bigger storyline, which I thought was going to be Jinder on Tinder.
Which is why you wanted him to lose in the first place. Don't even friggin' say you wanted McIntyre to win. You wanted Jinder to lose so he could Jinder gimmick. But yeah,
absolutely. And
you're the only one that got that one right. Yes.
But so hopefully the Jinder on Tinder thing comes through. I would not put it past WWE to do it. If they could partner with Tinder, and they can have a nice partnership there. But
love
the match. I love it. Well, Chuck Woolery reference there.
Tinder comes out with Tyler Breeze's cell phone.
Yeah,
it's on the Tron, and he's swiping left and right, whichever way he's like,
It makes sense. They could do it. You could, you bring back Brother Love to manage him.
I love you.
Even your brother blood pressure at this point.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's already got enough going on as it is. I mean, that poor bastard.
Excuse me. Sorry. That's when the mute button would have come in handy there.
Tim was so excited that he got the Jinder on Tinder thing right, or the part A of the Jinder on Tinder thing.
Yeah.
It was like over here almost dying on us.
But the match itself, I thought was pretty predictable. Nothing too noteworthy to, break down here.
Yeah, silly Mongo and I to think that they'd go less predictable.
Right.
It's because sometimes it's Vince. Like, there are some days it's like, okay, 1997 to 2000 Vince brains going for this match. No, this is 70-year-old Vince who still thinks it's 1992, and we shouldn't have gone against our gut.
He's like, my office toilet's clogged. TL Hopper, where are you? He just has a flashback moment to Nam, which Nam for him is 92, when you had Trash Men, and like 94, 95, when you had like the Goon and the Trash Man and TL Hopper, and just
that's what he wants. I'm surprised he doesn't have Zeke the Plumber from Salute Your Shorts. This is like a gimmick.
He doesn't watch enough TV to get he has to get the gimmick. So like the whole dentist thing with Isaac Yankem, like he literally had the everybody hates going to the dentist. I relate to that. Let's have an evil dentist. What?
He's probably the guy that eats the Snickers with a fork and knife, though.
Probably. I mean, he's probably one of those guys that likes putting ketchup on his steak.
That roll of microwaves.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just have to microwave stuff. You mean to tell me you've never microwaved food that you probably shouldn't microwave? Come on.
Well, everyone has, but I just wouldn't admit to microwaving steak. That was funny.
Microwave is one of the best inventions in the world. We're getting way off track here, but microwaves, low key, is one of the best inventions ever. Don't shit on the microwave or in the microwave.
I'm not. Fun fact: look how it was invented. Guy had chocolate melt in his pocket.
Oh, there you go. See, chocolate's good. What's wrong with that?
Better than this match.
Yeah,
it was just a typical 4-minute. We knew Drew McIntyre. We should have gone. I thought they were going to have a match.
we didn't know. Tim knew. I
knew.
Yeah, we fucked that one up. So.
But I didn't know this next match, though. It was the triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair becomes your new champion for the 100th time or whatever it is now, minus her NXT reigns. They don't count those. Doesn't matter. She's going to get the win over Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley by submission in about 13 minutes. The match, I don't know. Again, it wasn't anything overwhelming for me. It was a decent match. But the one thing I just take away is Nikki Ash, she has to have had one of the most underwhelming championship reigns in recent memory. Like, that was just a waste. Like, they had her cash in and become champion, cash in her Money in the Bank contract, that is. But, like, she didn't win anything as champion. Like, she kept losing. Like, it just, I don't understand the booking there. And I think they're just trying to put numbers on Charlotte at this point, title reigns. So I predicted Nikki Ash to win, but, I should have been smarter to see what they were doing here. And Charlotte Flair wins another one.
You almost had your spot too, Tim, where you were the one that predicted the jump off the top rope kind of thing to steal it. That was you, right? You're the one that said
I think that was Mongo.
Oh, well, one of you did. I can't. Well, you almost had that spot where, because in the match where she literally had her in the figure eight, had Rhea Ripley in the figure eight, and she came off the top rope. I'm like, no way, and then it didn't work that way. But
I know. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna nail this one on that. Damn it, Vince.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. I knew one of you said that when I saw it. I was like, and then it didn't. But like, yeah. You know what? Why didn't you just have Nikki Cross, Nikki Ash, Nikki, whatever the hell you want to call her today? Why didn't you just have Nikki from the Spirit Squad come out? Whatever, I don't care. Why didn't you just have her lose the briefcase match then? Like, have her cash in and lose, because there was no point in even doing any of this, because, like you said, they're just going to put the belts on Ashley Flair, if you whatever you want to call her. The thing that really bugs me is that they're playing into her being like living up to the hype of like people being pissed off that she's a champion, when in reality they are fucking pissed off that she keeps winning, because I'm not saying she's not good, but they're just feeding her titles. Like they're just padding friggin' title reigns. Like, it's stupid. Like, at this, like, oh, she's had 407 title reigns now. Okay, cool. Like, who gives a shit? Like, that means she's lost it 406 times. Like, whatever. It's stupid at this point. And I was hoping that they were going to not do that. And Tim was hoping the same thing. And
that's where my prediction led, because I was like, they can't just give her, but that's what they do. They had her win a title at Money in the Bank and get cashed in on. She's been cashing on 3 times. So essentially she's gotten 3 title runs from people cashing on her, which makes no sense except to pad her stats. So you're now taking the legacy of Ric Flair's once epic accomplishment that wasn't heard of. Because if you think of the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, champions didn't lose them. They held on to them for 400 days. That's why it's impressive. Like someone like Walter at NXT, almost 900 days with the NXT UK title, and he finally loses it. So that match was probably the match of the weekend, not to jump ahead, because it meant something. A new title reign means something. They beat the fuck out of each other. And then you have something like this where Nikki Ash, like you both said, wins the briefcase in a shocking fashion. Awesome. She's going to push. Wins the title. Great. Now give her, the run's over. It doesn't. And like Tim said, she lost everything along with her. It's not like she looked like she was a fighting champion. It looked like she was like, hold my belt, bitch. Like that. It's literally, it's insulting to Nikki, and it makes this gimmick even more stupid because now her gimmick doesn't make any sense. Rhea Ripley also gets buried again because now she's looking like she's a joke. She at least have her recapture the title if you're taking it off Nikki.
Yeah, but now Nikki and Rhea can team together on Raw to face Shayna and Nia.
It doesn't make any. And then Asuka's sitting in catering, and she has something to prove. But now what's going to happen? So everyone wants to shit on other companies because they don't have the names. Well, guess what? Charlotte's champion again. Becky's champion again. Brock Lesnar will probably be champion again. And you complain about other companies using legends and being WCW 2.0. No, fuck you. WWE's fucking WCW 2000. All right, that's what this feels like right now.
Don't mention that name.
And don't. Yeah, you're gonna break Tim. And don't put it past Goldberg beating Bobby Lashley and Saudi.
Don't say that last time. Last time we talked about Goldberg, my internet went out.
I'm just saying though. Mongo brings up a great point. Don't put that past them doing stupid shit like that. It's just you're gonna have. It's gonna be another situation where Goldberg beats the Fiend, like you brought up before. He's going to beat Lashley, or it's going to be just something dumb that you look at it and you go, Like, why? And the Asuka thing, the way to WWE, please listen to me on this one. The way to do this properly, again, is to move Asuka to SmackDown in the draft and have her come after Becky to get her title, because we never had the match between the two of them that we should have had when Becky got pregnant. Thank you.
Next up, though, I think this turns around a little bit more positively. You have Edge and Seth Rollins in a singles match here. Plenty of time here, 21 minutes, 15 seconds. Edge gets the win with a submission, kind of almost like a sleeper choke kind of combination type thing. By far, this was the match of the night for me. From the iconic Brood entrance that Edge had, he had the Brood entrance comes out there, then he transitions to his regular music, just an iconic entrance. Fun fact about that, by the way, if you've heard, Gangrel was supposed to be on Dynamite this week, but because they played the whole Brood storyline at WWE, they canceled his appearance. Apparently, Edge apologized. And I think Gangrel is still compensated by Tony Khan, if I read that correctly. So,
well, and if they were going to, if the WWE decided they were going to do this, why didn't they just bring Gangrel in?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
It wouldn't have been the end of the world to bring him in for, a couple of weeks, have more. You could have teased when Edge did that thing about, he's sitting in the ring doing that whole like dark thing. He's like, I know how to go there, whatever. You could have had Gangrel come out then. Mm-hmm. And Edge go, see? You could have done that. And Vince, doesn't think that's a good idea, pal, apparently, or didn't think of that. I mean, that if you're going to bring, no offense, that was Gangrel's music before it was the Brood's music. So.
Yeah.
And what's funny is if you listen to Gangrel's podcast, Fangin' and Bangin', he mentioned recently, like Tim said, about the AEW appearance, and that this kind of screwed his appearance with AEW, because at first they were like, okay, well, Friday is no big deal. They did a nod to it with the ink bath because they purposely didn't make it blood. But I think SummerSlam was like the nail in the coffin, because no pun intended, or pun intended, however you want to take it. And obviously they still paid him and everything like that. But I reached out to our buddy Gangrel and I commented, and he saw it because he ended up liking it back. I was like, what a missed opportunity to not see you at SummerSlam. At least rise up with Edge. Like, oh my God, his mentor's here. And like that could have been something. He could have just stood there with the chalice and just laughing and smiling. Didn't have to get involved or anything, but the pure like mental warfare of it could have elevated this match so much more. Not that it was a bad match at all. No. I mean, I texted you both, holy shit, what an entrance, because I got chills when he actually had, Gangrel, the Brute's music, like that's that music is probably one of the most epic songs that Jim Johnson has ever produced for WWE, WF, because it's always awesome here. Then it hits that awesome like guitar riff and drum, and he rises up, and the red robe, everything about his entrance gear with the blood. You knew this match was going to be good just because that he sold that he went to that dark place, like Roland said, and he missed this whole opportunity. But the match itself, it was a banger. It was probably the match of SummerSlam. It was a fantastic match. A little cringy when he kind of put him in the crippler crossface, where he's like, he went to a dark place, and I'm like, oh, they did not just say that during that submission.
Cole called it a crippler crossface too, didn't he? Didn't he say that on TV or on the broadcast? I'm pretty sure the first time he put him in, he called it the crippler crossface, and it's like, oh boy, it's just probably like,
yeah, Roland just threw his headset.
I just threw my anyways, that's probably what Vince was doing.
But yeah, at least it was a good match. And Seth Rollins, like we all predicted, he could take the loss because he's got that, like, he can lose and keep his credibility. It was good for Edge to regain, his momentum. And just overall, they told a hell of a story, a hell of a match. Like both these men went. I'm glad we got to see it. I'm glad that Seth got to, get his comeuppance, and the way Edge finished was cool. He he tried the execution. He was pulling everything out. He was showing he wasn't just a radar superstar, but he went back to like his 2001, 2004 style Edge. It was awesome.
Well, and it would have, like you said, it would have been really cool too if Gangrel had come up with him, and then Edge comes down the ramp and he turns around to look, and then Gangrel goes back down. That would have been just the coolest thing. And then it went to the Edge music, and it would they just missed an opportunity, which would have the fans not they marked out. Don't get me wrong, but they would have marked out even more had Gangrel been there. And like you said, more or less Edge hands, or vice versa, hands the chalice back to Gangrel, and Gangrel lets Edge start going down, and then he turns around to kind of look to see where he is, and he's like, and he just goes down, like more or less, go get him. And it would have been a cool moment. Not that it wasn't cool, but it would have been like, I'm getting chills just thinking about what they could have done there, like how cool it could have been, because, you know, I'm not just trying to, because Gangrel, you know, is in our opening. I'm not trying to just, you know, push him, but like, it just would have been really cool. And it's too bad. Ultimately, having both Christian and Gangrel would have been, I mean, I know Christian works for AEW, so that couldn't happen. But like, I'm just saying, like, having those three together would have been like the ultimate wish for this. So anybody that's going to be like, "Ooh, Christian works for AEW," I'm aware. I'm just throwing it out there that like,
fantasy booking, pal.
Right. That would have been the ultimate way to do it had you been able to do it.
Just think, if they weren't so stubborn, I guarantee Tony Khan would probably let them work together. And what a world we could have wrestling, even if it was just like, yeah, you can borrow, like what they used to do back in the day. Yeah, you can borrow Christian for the Brood's entrance. You know, let us borrow so and so for the, you know, boom. It doesn't hurt the company. He's like, roast both brands, but it's a stubborn pal.
So we got two more matches. There are two world title matches to discuss. The first one is the WWE Championship match. Bobby Lashley is going to retain over Goldberg by referee stoppage. You know, I predicted Bobby Lashley to win just because I didn't want to see Goldberg with another title. So I'm glad that they didn't put it on. Unfortunately, though, what they did is they set up this to continue after the match. You know, Goldberg injured his knee throughout in the match. That's why the referee stopped it. Afterwards, you know, Bobby Lashley attacks Goldberg's son Gage. So that just leads to a continuation of the feud, which will probably be down in Saudi, which will probably be the next, you know, big match between these two. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to see Goldberg again. But I am happy that for at least for the moment, they didn't put the belt on Goldberg.
I got that one right. Next.
The ending was horrible. I mean, it went 5 minutes longer than I thought it would. It went like, 7 minutes?
Yep.
Wow, what a trash ending for a SummerSlam. So if I was in that crappy piss, like, so not only did you screw them out of seeing Sasha Banks' title match, which you now screw them out of a legit ending, just having the ref go, no, it's over. So now you're just crushing Goldberg's relevance anymore. So now every title match has come back the last like year and a half, he's lost. So now we're supposed to take him serious when he keeps challenging for the title. Like, you're booking yourself into a corner, and I'm laughing at it because when Goldberg never really takes a strap at friggin' Saudi Arabia because, you know, Vince likes blood money and letting them book for him, but that's a different story. And you're just going to have Goldberg and basically just make a meaningless run of this, meaningless match. So what was the point of having this on the match when there's others who weren't? So this was pointless, and I agree. Next.
Well, next up is the singles match for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns against John Cena here. Plenty of time, 24 minutes. You know, I thought it was a solid main event. I liked Cena's entrance where he came out and they had the scrolls of all his championship wins, you know, on the screen there. I thought that was pretty neat. I mean, obviously he was going for the record-tying, you know, or record-breaking 17th world title win, which is why I predicted John Cena to win, just because I thought they were going to do it despite Ric Flair. I know Roland had a similar take that I did on that. You know, but I'm actually really happy with what they did here. I'm happy that they continued it with Roman because Cena was going to Hollywood. He even acknowledged that on the Smackdown promo. He's going to Hollywood. So you can't have a part-time champion, or you're not supposed to. I mean, WWE doesn't believe that, but you're not supposed to have a part-time champion. So I'm really happy they kept the belt in a range. I thought the match itself was really good. I thought there was a couple of, you know, there's a table spot, a couple high spots on here, but I thought it was a solid match. I'm not the biggest Roman Reigns or John Cena fan, but, you know, this one worked for me. I don't think it was as good as Seth Rollins and Edge, but I thought it was a decent main event to end the show with, and I'm happy that Reigns retained this belt here. And then obviously we know what happened afterwards with the return of Brock Lesnar, who's a face now. So obviously that puts Paul Heyman in kind of a pickle. And they're kind of teasing some dissension on SmackDown between the Bloodline and Paul Heyman going forward. So be interested to see where they go with that. But overall, that was a solid main event.
Yeah, the match itself did surprise me a little bit. It was actually a pretty solid match. Again, I'm in the same boat as Tim. I'm not the biggest Roman Reigns fan. I'm not the biggest Cena fan. I respect what they can do in the ring. Don't get me wrong. And to Roman's credit, his storyline right now is the best thing WWE has going. So, you know, I'm not going to crap on that. But, yeah, they're now leading towards what has to be Paul Heyman picking between his Samoan stepson and his illegitimate son, Brock Lesnar. And I know none of that's true again, so don't at me or don't at us and say, oh, you're stupid. No, I'm just saying, like, that's what they're leading towards, and I called this months ago. This is my claim to fame, folks. I called this months ago that eventually Brock's coming back, and that Roman and Brock are going to have a match, and Paul Heyman's going to be in the middle. He's going to have to pick a side.
Yeah, remember we said we were going to put Miss Elizabeth, so we were going to put Paul Heyman on a bowl or something. Yeah, you definitely called that one. Just the match itself, I agree. You both right, but they were definitely just trying to hype up that stupid $1,000 shirt he was wearing.
The rip off a CM Punk shirt, that one.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, everyone's using Super Mario 3, but yeah, Roland called that too. Like, hey, look, CM Punk's exact design, but it's a stupid NFT shirt, so you have to buy an NFT for $1,000 to get that shirt. Like, okay, cool. Like, I'll wait for the bootleg because you just screwed your fan base out of getting that shirt.
I'll just buy the Punk shirt. Thanks.
But again, so right here, you're just showing that you're trying to pump up this 16, him breaking Ric Flair's record is meaningful. But meanwhile, 2 matches ago, you're like, here's Charlotte on a silver platter. Like, it just, I don't know. It kind of cheapened. And like Tim said, you knew he wasn't winning. You knew he was going to Hollywood. They acknowledged it. He talked about he has shows doing and that he'll be back. But it's like, why? Like, you don't need to be in the world title picture because we already know that they want Charlotte Flair to break the friggin' record. I shouldn't have gone with Cena too, but I thought they were going to be petty and try to give him his 17th title win. But it was a good match. At least it keeps the title on Roman. But having Viking Brock, Roland said it earlier, I can't remember if it was off air or on air. It's just because they were scared. CM Punk debuted. Fox got pissed off because the rumors are Fox was like, we had him on backstage, had a great relationship. Why didn't you try to get him on our network? And that he panicked and called Brock, and they signed a huge deal, and he's going to be doing 8 matches. So he's going to have the same booking they had last time. But Brock got stupid money. That's why he doesn't care that he's a face and looks like a freaking Goro from Mortal Kombat. He's just strutting down the ramp laughing. He's like, all the way to the bank, baby. That's all he thinks about. It's all he cares about. He doesn't care if your product does good or bad. He just hopes your check cash clears. Like, thanks, Vince. Like, oh, he got a good pop. He got a good pop because it's a return. They're at SummerSlam. They're going to cheer. They would have cheered if Jimmy Hart, Mouth of the South, came over the Titantron to come out and yell at Paul Heyman. Like, don't give me. It's not because it's Brock, because this was his 10th fucking return. And he does the same thing every time. He holds the title hostage, and he's probably going to try to win Saudi too, because that way they can have the title off him. So when Roman Reigns fights Rock, it's not for the title, because that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, because you can't have The Rock win again. You can't have The Rock beat CM Punk and then you can't do that storyline again. You can't.
They do it with Brock every year anyway.
I'm just saying, like, you can't have, I mean, they already had The Rock come back and beat Punk for the title and go face Cena at WrestleMania. 2011 or whenever that was, 12. What I lost track of, but it just, you can't. Like you said, that's a smart way to do it. And like I said, they're going to do it with Goldberg, I bet, because like Tim pointed out, every time, or Mongo, one of you two, every time, I can't remember who said it now, but every time that Goldberg comes back, they end up beating him. They squash him, essentially. And how do you have him as a believable opponent for a title? Again, so you have to now have him win, which means they're setting up for him to win in Saudi, to then maybe only have him have like a month reign and then lose the title, drop title, and disappear again. And maybe he'll drop it to Drew McIntyre, and maybe that's how they get the title back on McIntyre, because Vince wants to get the title back on McIntyre.
And I think I can say in agreement that we'll look at the results from Saudi, but I'm not watching. I don't support that they're in Saudi Arabia just based on their treatment of humanitarian people. But I'm not going to get into it because it's a political issue. But I don't think that you should let someone else book your company. That's what Vince does. He basically signed in their contract. They have booking rights. And I never understood that. That's why the Fiend got squashed, because they want Goldberg. They want their 80s, 90s wrestling, because they know this new wrestling sucks. That's why we had, Goldberg almost kill The Undertaker for no reason. So we had Triple H destroy himself with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels came out of retirement for one of the worst things. Like, that's literally like the Michael Jordan.
That to this day, too. He did an interview a little while back, not to cut you off, but he regrets that decision to this day.
Yeah, because it's like when Ric Flair unretired to go to TNA, or it's like Michael Jordan unretiring going to the Wizards. Like, it just, you don't need to continue. If you have a legacy like that, why? Like, he could have been a manager at Triple H's side, gotten interference. I don't care. Retired wrestlers could get in it, but don't put him in a legit match. And then Triple H, rips his pecs. So poor guy, like, going through this match for nothing.
And then Kane
loses his face.
Yeah. Fell off at one point. And Shawn Michaels comes out looking like fucking Nick Gage. Shaved head. It's like, what the hell is going on here? But yeah. Yeah, it's good points all around. That's how that goes, and that's what WWE is all about, the money, which is why it's a good thing they did all that cost cutting measure to save money, because they had to pay Brock Lesnar all that money to come back.
Yeah. So that's the rundown of SummerSlam. I'm gonna give it maybe a 5.5 rating. It was so predictable. The saving grace for me was the Edge Rollins match. That was the match of the night, and the main event was decent. I thought that was it was a good main event, but the rest of the stuff really predictable, just not really noteworthy, memorable moments for me. So I'll give it a 5.5 rating.
Yeah, I'd give it half a Ty Dillinger.
I'd probably say about 5. Edge, we will say Edge Rollins match of the night. I like the RK Bro win. That wasn't a halfway bad match. And then the main event wrestling wise was a good wrestling match, but I also didn't like that Cena kept going for roll-ups to try to get a cheap win. It's like, it shows he wasn't really going in the ring. He just kept going to go for a cheap roll-up. It's like, just stop. But yeah, I would say if it's one of those things, should you watch or skip it? You can skip it. It wasn't, watch the highlights on YouTube. Don't waste your whole time watching the whole show.
So that is our breakdown of SummerSlam 2021. And I think now we're just going to, kind of discuss some of the news and notes of the past week in wrestling.
Yeah, we may as well at least talk a little bit about what's going on. We mentioned a little bit the NXT stuff of what the end of what we know as NXT is coming to, fruition here soon, unfortunately. They have the press release essentially that they're not going to be signing any more indie guys, no small people, and they're going to make characters. They're going to go back to like Mongo keeps saying 1992, and they're going to make characters, which is why Karrion Kross comes out looking like he belongs in Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Like, it's an unfortunate direction to go in, and clearly, Triple H is out. Triple H being quote unquote blamed for them not succeeding against AEW, which supposedly wasn't competition in the first place, according to Vince. So it's unfortunate, and now all you're doing is alienating one of the better minds in the business. Like, that's, you can crap on Triple H all you want, but minds for actual matches and how to have storylines go, he's your best option, and now you've just alienated him from the company essentially, because why would you want to work there if this is going to happen? You're going to create this empire of NXT, and then Vince is like a Rusev crush. He just crushes it, and that's it, gone.
He was mad people got over. I honestly, to this day, believe he was pissed that the people he didn't think could get over got over. You had No Way Jose get massively over for literally just the No Way Jose chant, because he can wrestle, but he's not like a stellar, ring general. He got over. You quoted earlier, Ty Dillinger, 10. Sean Spears getting over just by going 10. Remember with the Royal Rumble a few years back when he came out at number 10, the place went electric. They went apeshit, and he's pissed. And he was mad that every time they had a takeover, it was constantly outperforming the weekend views for whatever product. So whenever they did the Big Four, but it wasn't that we weren't watching WrestleMania. It's just takeover was a banger, and then we watched that, but it made an event. So now you're also taking away the people who are going to WrestleManias. Half the big things I loved when I went down to Mania weekend was, all right, where are we going to hit? We're going to hit Indie Show or Ring of Honor on a Thursday. This Friday, we're doing this. Saturday, we got, NXT TakeOver. Sunday, we got Mania. You could do the Monday Night Raw after Mania. You could do Tuesday SmackDown. They used to tape it back in the day. So you could have 5-6 days worth of wrestling. So you justified the trip to go down. And now it's going to be, you just expect people to fly down for one event. Well, you're not going to probably have as much international travel anymore, because why are they going to fly across country for one pay-per-view? It's not going to happen as much. And then you're also telling the people in the indies, we don't want you. So you're basically saying, okay, you strive for nothing. You're just going to grow Ring of Honor. You're going to grow Impact. You're going to grow AEW. You're going to feed your competition these indie stars who are going to get national exposure, like 2.0, who, I know they're a little older, but they've been killing it on Dynamite, that tag team that was just released. Deonna Purrazzo from NXT is killing it in Impact, and she's going to be wrestling on NWA Empower next weekend. So you have all this amazing talent, and you throw it away. Excuse me, Empower's tomorrow night. You're just throwing it away. You're basically downplaying everyone in the indies, and that sucks, because I'm a bit huge. Mark, I go to the indie shows. I go to Limitless Wrestling up in Maine, and for $20, you can see people from Impact Wrestling, AEW. I've literally seen matches that would be on pay-per-views for $20, and then you get to talk to them after and see what they're passionate about. You get to interact, and it's like ECW, the bingo halls. The fans are electric because everyone's, lubed up, to use the Tom Brady term, having a good time. And you're taking that away because now NXT is just going to be nothing but people you think we want to see. The bodybuilders, the models again. You're going to bring in like the Lex Lugers, but with half the talent. Like, cool, you had that in Chris Masters, and you got rid of him.
You're going to have more Eva Maries. You're going to have more Eva Maries. Some of these eye candy that can't wrestle in the ring. And it's going to be just like, when you had right before you had the Lita and Trish's. You're going to have that gap where like you bring in, puppies, like, but you can't do that because it's PG now.
Yeah, you're going to get these people that just, they're probably not going to be passionate about wrestling. They just want to make money and be on TV. If you're not going to the indies, where are you getting these people from? You're getting these from people that don't have wrestling backgrounds. That's what you're going to grow your company on. And, that leads to, people that don't care, people that can't put on good matches, and
Injuries.
probably a product that nobody cares about. If you're not going to go out to these indies where people care about professional wrestling, I mean, I know Vince can say it's sports entertainment all he wants, but the heart of his business is professional wrestling, whether he wants to acknowledge it or not. And you're gonna the new talent you're gonna get to rely on your company are people that don't care about it. It just makes no sense, business wise.
Acknowledge me.
WWE is turning into a show about wrestling, not featuring wrestling. That's honestly what it feels like. And it's sad, and it kind of leads into the next segue for us that, Adam Cole's a free agent as of right now. Last night at midnight, his extension ended, and I know this is overhyped and over speculation, but he deleted all the WWE links off his Twitter. WWE Shop put all his merchandise down like 40%. So signs are in him that he's left. I'm not saying where, he's signed. I don't think he's signing anywhere as of today, but it makes sense after him hearing that vanilla midget thing that Vince said, because I don't know if people have caught Rollins saying that, but it's not him. Vince literally put an internal memo that was leaked out, quote, "no vanilla midgets," end quote. Like, that's a horrible thing to say to someone. So and you were wondering, you can throw money, but you know what? I don't think he cares about the money at this point. I think he knows he can go because he can still work any day to make extra money on top of AEW. His girlfriend works at AEW. His friends work at AEW. He could have a good run. The Young Bucks killed him off in BTE. So he could have a fun storyline, with the Bucks when he comes back. Maybe he comes back and helps cost the tag team titles at All Out from the Young Bucks. Maybe he'll save that prediction for later.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing too, news and notes, Impact have, interest in Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt. It'll be interesting to see if they go there as opposed to AEW. I mean, I know Impact's got the working relationship with AEW now, but that's just another, noteworthy thing that happened this past week.
Well, and then you have the dissension in the Dark Order too. Like, you wonder if somebody like Bray Wyatt could then essentially take over the Dark Order,
take over the Brody Lee role.
Yeah, and they have the dissension right now between them about Uno not being in charge and John Silver and Reynolds going their own kind of way off of the, and the stuff. No, I know it was storyline and they probably knew, but the stuff that Uno said on TV, you shouldn't be saying to somebody that's in your family. You know what I mean? Like, to hide in John Silver's shadow and all this stuff. And I know they played it up. I get it, but like, is Bray Wyatt that guy to come in to then be essentially, Brody Lee's, and they can play off on that and say that, like Brody Lee spoke to him, or like there's ways that you can make this work. Like, they're good friends. You can say that, like, this is why I'm here. Like, I was brought here for this, to
Brody wouldn't want this.
Right. Like, and that's the thing. So, you wonder if he's going to end up there, and obviously he can't be Bray Wyatt. And obviously, there's some speculation of him actually going by Wyndham Rotunda, like actually going by his legitimate name, which would be a refreshing change too, because every time these guys go to WWE, you can't keep your own damn name. Even if you are a son of a Hall of Famer or son of, you just can't, you have to have your own, WWE has to have their own IP. So,
I mean, they try to get their real names, like the whole Chelsea Green situation. That it was suddenly resolved when she tweeted out, but because she had to bring attention to it. Damn well it wasn't a clerical error. That's just what is being put out to protect you, or whatever it was. And it sucks, and it makes you wonder, like, is this the culture shift that we have been like feeling and thinking, but it was never come to fruition. But 2 years ago, Triple H is like, hey Billy, don't make Vince buy that pissant company of yours. It's no longer a pissant company. You know, Tony Khan's joked that CM Punk signing already paid itself off in merch sales. Like, he sold 10,000 shirts in 72 hours.
And it probably would have been more if the fucking website didn't die.
Right.
That's one
honestly,
of the points I brought up. You know, they sold a ton of shirts, and the website was down for like 12 hours of that 72 hours.
And even the second run, like without like I can't think what they're called, like the black collars and the black like cuffs on the sleeves, that style of shirt, they had to buy every single warehouse in the country they had to buy all the stock to fill the orders. So if you're ordering anything for Pro Wrestling Tees, might take you a month to get it, but that just shows you that the Bullet Club shirt, which is one of the most iconic shirt behind the black and white NWO, I feel like Austin 316. It took 7 years to hit the record that CM Punk broke in 72 hours. Like, that is just, if you want to talk about moving the needle, moving the legitimacy of something, that moved the needle, because that's waking up that sleeping sector of WWE fans that were so tired of what WWE is doing and continuing to do, that they're going to go check out AEW, whether they know about the product or not. They say CM Punk's there, I'm following him. I'm curious to see what the buy rate's going to be for this pay-per-view next weekend with him versus Darby, because people are kind of complaining, oh, it shouldn't be Darby. I think they're going to put on one hell of a match.
Well, and that's the only thing, is that how do you, the booking I know we're going to do predictions next week of this, I'm spoiling that, but like, how do you have a winner here? You almost have to like play for a draw, because you don't want to see Punk lose, but you also don't want Darby to lose to Punk. So like, that's why I think why people are complaining, because they're trying to build Darby, and they have built him well, and you don't want, it's the same thing as Becky coming back after a layoff. The last thing you honestly, in theory, would think is that someone that hasn't wrestled in 7 years is now going to beat the guy you've been pushing. So like, maybe that's why some of the fans are a little bit like, it shouldn't be Darby. Like, maybe they should have built to Darby. I get that. So like that makes it hard. And again, I'm not going to give my prediction, but like, as a fan, you almost pull, as a logical fan, again, I'm going to say logical because we think things through a little bit more than some of the actual marks out there. How do you do you have, is this where Sting, and again, I'm not trying to get into the prediction, but is this where Sting gets frustrated with Darby doing something stupid, and they end up splitting up because, you know, Darby cost himself the match doing something stupid, so that's how Punk wins? Or like, how do you beat Punk in his match back? But then it also does kind of hurt Darby a little bit to lose, like in theory, to lose to Punk.
I don't think, I mean, again, not to do a prediction, I don't think it would hurt as much, because there's also ways they could do it. And that's
right.
What's refreshing about EW is they are a little smarter about booking. They can, I feel like they analyze, okay, what's the path if we go this way, this way, this way? Because I mean, there's times they put storylines out that are real stinkers. I mean, when the Dark Order first came out, we were all like, these guys, and they've turned legitimate. You know, when Brandy had her little like Nightmare Foundation, it tanked, and that was gone. You know, like when like I think Mel's been released and Awesome Kong retired, so like that was gone in a heartbeat. So I think they do take the pulse of the fans, and that's what you need. We're not saying let the fans fantasy book. That's the last thing you want to do, is because you have weird ass people like me who would fantasy book things that you maybe not want to see. So, but it's still feel the pulse, and I think that's what EW is going to recognize, is they know, okay, CM Punk's back. They want to see CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan again, because they didn't really get that match in WWE. They had that epic 2005 Ring of Honor match. I mean, you know, like Roland said earlier, when CM Punk was in the ring, you know, last week, and they were chanting, yes, yes, yes. And he's like, that's some other guy's shtick. You'll have to be patient. So are they teasing, you know, the American Dragon coming back? Because there's rumors he's coming back at All Out. So, you know, maybe that could be part of our predictions next week. Maybe something to do with that. But I trust AEW because I feel like they haven't let us down yet. You know, and people say that, but I think it's we let ourselves down when they give us, hey, there's going to be a surprise signing. We shoot for the moon because they've just been so good at who they've signed.
Well, that's like with All Ego Ethan Page being the entrant in the pay-per-view there a while back. Like we were all like, oh, who the fuck? Like we thought it was somebody big. I think we set our set our thing too high.
Or Leo Rush at Double or Nothing.
yeah, something like it's. I think you set your things a little bit, and I think to an extent, AEW does it on purpose to be like, oh, there's other people out there. We don't need just this person. and we can showcase other people. So like it's almost like a swerve without being a swerve kind of thing, because they know the fans are going nuts, and sometimes they will give us what they like. With Punk, they gave us what we wanted because the rumor were out there and whatever. But there's other times they haven't. I mean, Daniel Bryan was supposed to debut in Leo Rush's spot in theory, and didn't. So
I think it all comes back to unpredictability, which I think AEW gives us that sense of unpredictability, whereas we just did a whole SummerSlam show where more than half the matches were really predictable. And I think that's
got 9, so I told you.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between the two companies right now. You can almost, pencil in who's going to win and who's going to wrestle on WWE and who's going to go over. With AEW, you don't have that. And I think as a wrestling fan, that's what you want. I think, when there's unpredictability involved, that's when wrestling's at its best. Like when you had the NWO, you didn't know what they were going to do. When you had DX, you didn't know what they were going to do, what they were going to do next. So I think that's what AEW does really well right now, as opposed to WWE.
I agree.
So we've kind of teased it. Next week's show, we're going to give you our predictions on All Out, which takes place Sunday, September 5th. So next week we'll run down the card for you, give us, our predictions. We'll run down any news and notes of the next week too, if anything, important comes up. But that is coming your way next week, guys.
Should be interesting to see the difference between SummerSlam and All Out. That's all I'm going to say. It should be interesting. This is going to be an example as to how to properly book a show and how to have. There might be some things we don't agree with, but this is going to be a telling sign as to what the big differences are between the two companies.
And this isn't, Jacksonville, Florida, no offense, where, limited 1,000 fans. This is Chicago, sold out. It's CM Punk's first match in 7 years. It's going to be rockers. I can't wait. I'm hyped for this. See, they're building up hype. They make me want to see this pay-per-view. So I'm excited to talk about it and give our predictions and our thoughts.
That's coming up for you guys next Saturday at 5. Hope you enjoyed our episode. Again, if you were expecting SummerSlam 88, well, we already covered that on episode 39 that none of us were aware of until a couple days ago. So go ahead and check that out. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with All Out predictions. Until then, I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling Past and Present.
No mute button, bitches.
Woo!
For now.
I hope you're all having a nice day.